Hello friends, I'm Ranger Master, and welcome to the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. The national parks have been a part of my life ever since I was a young girl. I remember hiking to a waterfall with my family and running my fingers through the icy cold water, and looking up at ginormous trees clothed in green leaves that seemed to go up forever. These experiences gave me a sense that I was connected to something bigger than myself. I also remember learning about the amazing women who overcame great challenges to fight for my right to vote. In 2020, we celebrate the 100th year anniversary of the passing of the 19th Amendment, giving the women the right to vote. What do you think California would be like if women didn't have the right to vote? Join me as we discover the local women of the Santa Monica Mountains that paved the way for us. Adelaide Comstock was a prominent figure in the drive for women's suffrage in Ventura County. In an 1892 letter to the editor of the Ventura Signal, she wrote, "The idea that a woman's influence cannot be trusted in politics is downright insult to the sex. Men of the lowest order may vote. Their status is higher than that of the most refined and intelligent women in the land." Suffragists also adopted Julia Ward Howe's Battle of the Hymn as an official anthem of their movement, creating their own versions with words supporting the women's right to vote. Comstock's After the Battle Hymn of the Republic was dedicated to Howe during a visit she made to Ventura. Comstock's Battle of the Hymn opens with these lines: "In the glory of these lilies Christ his second coming see, to purify the nationhood, through womanhood set free." Adelaide Comstock did not live to see women in Ventura vote in 1920. She died 2 years before the ratification of the 19th Amendment in the United States Constitution. Next in our discovery, we have the extraordinary Mabel Kelch, who left her hometown in Illinois and profession as a teacher in 1903 at the age of 25, destined for Los Angeles. Upon arriving in the city, she landed a full-time job with the United States Post Office as chief auditor and accountant, which was a local seat of power of the federal government in early Los Angeles. With her mind set in securing property in the Malibu Mountains, she set out alone in 1909 with a team of horses leading her wagon. Her journey by way of beach and deep rugged trails through the mountains, trespassing through the massive Ridge Ranch, was an uneasy one. She eventually arrived at her homestead, a 323-acre site just off modern-day Mulholland Highway, right here in Arroyo Sequite. With a hammer, saw, and lumber, Mabel built her own cabin in 3 weeks without any help. She accomplished a lot as a single woman living on her own at the turn of the century. She even registered to vote in 1914. What do you think it was like to ride a wagon and horses all by yourself and build a cabin with your own 2 hands? Now let's talk about Ballard Mountain, where the remarkable Alice Ballard and her family once lived. This African-American woman and daughter of former enslaved people overcame serious challenges to become pioneering homesteaders at the Santa Monica Mountains and a voter. In 1869, Alice and her family lived in downtown Los Angeles for most of her childhood. When she was 11, they moved west to stake a homestead in a very remote area above the Malibu coastline, which is now modern-day Ballard Mountain. In 1888, Alice established her own homestead near her father's property. The fact that a black woman staked a claim to owning 160 acres of land is notable for several reasons. Alice owned property around the turn of the century when 85% of African American women worked as domestic laborers. The 1900 census lists her as a nurse. Researchers think that she worked as a midwife to the few families living in the area of the mountains. By the time Alice was formally granted her own homestead patent in 1901, she had grown fruit trees and vines, constructed a 1-room log house with fencing, and cleared 10 to 15 acres. Alice Ballard did indeed register to vote in 1938. What do you think it was like to own 160 acres of land during that time? Know when you're walking these lands that 3 women fought tirelessly to preserve it. In the 1960s and 1970s, Sue Nelson, Jill Swift, and Margot Furr worked to save the mountains from development. Ultimately, their efforts led to legislation that created a preserve stretching from Franklin Canyon to Point Mugu. This quilt of parkland was established as part of the National Parks and Recreation Act of 1978, which is now the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. Do you think Sue, Jill, and Margot could have founded the Santa Monica Mountains Natural Recreation Area if they didn't have the right to vote? Now let's hear from our very own women rangers.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm a forestry technician with the National Park Service. My position is a wildland firefighter. So we do things to help protect structures here in the park. Something that I enjoy about my job is being able to be outside all the time. I get to learn about new plants. I get to just be out in a different environment. Something that inspires me the most is my family. I come from a family of mostly women, and I firmly believe that strong women raise strong women. So my grandma and my mom have been a huge influence in my life and have been a strong foundation for me and my biggest support systems. I'm so grateful for the women suffragists that fought for my right to vote, because they literally risked their lives with this belief that everyone should have a voice. And I think that they probably also came from a similar background where they thought that the women around them were strong and deserved better.
My name is Melanie Beck, and I am an outdoor recreation planner with the National Park Service at Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. What do? I work at trail planning, land acquisition, resource management and protection, and general lands management at this park's interface with the public-private boundaries throughout the park. I really certainly love nature and wildlife. That's with two words to indicate everything that's out there in the environment. And we moved around as a kid. My family always lived out in the country in beautiful places, and we were able to take walks and go for jeep rides in the forests and other places, and I loved it. So John Muir was right. In every walk I took, I always got more out of it than I anticipated. And regarding women in the park and the GIS profession, it's still largely dominated by men, but I will take a moment to thank the suffragists who opened the door long ago for women to have these kinds of technical jobs seen as typically for men. My grandma and my grandmother were born in between 1900 and 1908, so their mothers could not vote. And even they were barely at an age of voting when the 19th Amendment to the Constitution came through. And so I have that connection back to these grandmothers that I knew who were at the very beginning of this time period of being able to vote.
Hi, I'm Jess. I am a law enforcement ranger with the National Park Service. I first started with the National Park Service when I was 19 years old as an intern at Prince William Forest Park. I learned a lot about the resources that we protect and that we conserve for future generations. And that actually is one of my favorite parts of my job, is that I get to protect these resources that people come to our park to enjoy. Everyone comes to our country and they come to our national parks to enjoy our parks, and I really love being able to meet people from all over the world and help them get the better enjoyment of our national parks. Suffragists inspire me because they were fighting for the rights to have my voice as a woman to be heard. In this society and this democracy that we live in, it's really important for me to tell people in charge and everyone else what I need in order to survive and to live just like them. And I'm really inspired by them because they knew that it was important, because they were living those lives of what it felt like to not have your voice be heard and not to be listened to and not to be taken care of. So they inspire me because of that, and I'm really thankful and inspired by them.
I'm Catherine Beverly Bishop. I'm the Acting Chief of Interpretation at Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area, and I've been with the National Park Service for 20 years. As a child, I was a brownie, and I did everything outdoors. I've had the opportunity to travel with the national parks, and it's been amazing, but Santa Monica Mountains is a very special place. There's so many cool things to do in the Santa Monica Mountains, and it's only moments away from Los Angeles. The right to vote for women means so much to me as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister, because we get to decide. And we have a seat at the table to be on the Supreme Court, to be a senator, a vice president, run for president, and protect these public lands, to protect our national treasures. Rangers share America's stories, and voting is an important part of our country's history, one that's worth preserving. Do you have ideas? Do you have things that mean a lot to you? Imagine being one of the women that stepped up to fight for the right for women to vote. What can you do in your community? How can you share your ideas? How can you be heard?
Just as the local fearless women and my colleagues have inspired me, we hope that you find women in your life that inspire you. Share with us which Santa Monica woman inspired you today and why. Draw a picture of what a day in her life might look like, or share with us what you can do today to help your local community. Be sure to email us at samokids@nps.gov. Be sure to include your name and mailing address to receive your limited edition 19th Amendment Girl Scout Ranger patch. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.